to do a quick little video on different types of boots you can use and why and when you would use them. So these are kind of our standard different types of leg protection. And the first thing we're going to start with is a polo wrap. And whereas polo wraps to me are aesthetically the prettiest, they're not always the most efficient if you're kind of in a hurry or running a busy barn like we are a lot of the times, simply because you got to wash them every day. And they take longer to put on, and there's more, you know, it takes a little bit more technique to put them on. You can cause sometimes a little, it's kind of like a standing bandage. If you don't put them on well, you can cause some, a little bit of damage if they're put on too tight or if they're put on too loose, honestly. So this is not an educational video on how to put them on, it's just when and where to use them. So whereas these are sometimes the prettiest to look at, they also can have the most risk. But where I would use them a lot is I use them if I've got a horse with any rubs, any skin scurf, anything that's a little bit sensitive on their legs, that a brush boot or a regular working wolf boot is gonna irritate. I would use a polo. I also sometimes use a polo if I have a horse that maybe has stayed in overnight and it's stocked up and it needs to go on a walk. You know, putting this a little bit snug can help with inflammation, just like an ACE bandage would on a person. So that's your polo wraps. A big no is if you're going to be going through water in the morning. If the grass is damp, it's going to loosen and wet, and most often it'll come undone, and that can be a pretty tricky and dangerous situation. So polos are good to have in the barn for certain occasions, but we do not use them that often. Our next boot is just our nice Weatherbeeta brushing boot. Weatherbeeta not only makes awesome blankets, they make great leg protection. And this is really our standard go-to, right? It's an easy double strap. It's really hard to screw up. So you end up, they've got nice leg protection. They're super lightweight. They can handle some, you know, some condensation and some wet. They don't have, it wouldn't be a great cross-country boot because this is quite soft, so it's not going to protect the leg against, you know, a big bang on a solid table. But for your normal everyday work, this is a really great, efficient boot. It's really effective, really easy, really light, machine washable, hose washable, and you know, they come in a variety of colors. I'm not a big color person. I like the white. Again, we've had these boots for a while. They clean up really well, and they look pretty good, especially if you're showing horses, anything like that. It accentuates the movement. So those are our normal go-to. Then we have our cross-country boot, right? This is another great Weatherbeeta cross-country boot, and you'll see the difference here is it's got more protection across the tendons. So it's got a little bit more if you were to hit the sharp edge of something, or if unfortunately you had a little bit of a swing and a miss on cross-country, the horse isn't going to pay the ultimate price for that and have an injury. So there's a lot of protection. When you're looking at cross-country boots, one of the things that you really want to look at, which these boots are great for, is how much water they carry. So when you're galloping through water, anything like that, these really like drain quite quickly, and they don't carry a lot of water with them. So, you know, often we end up with the water jump, you know, 4th or 5th fence, and you've got to gallop another minute or two after that. So you want to make sure that your boot stays super light and it's got a lot of tendon protection. And the other thing you want to make sure is that, you know, you do update your boots, because if you wash them a lot, the Velcro doesn't stick as well, and so then you can end up with some issues with boots slipping or sliding. But whenever we're showing, we actually back it up with a little electrical tape just to make sure they stay snug and secure. And I would always recommend practicing cross-country schooling with your boots before you go to a competition. Last and not least are our open front boots. So these are for show jumping, obviously. They're open front. It's all in the name. So they're open in this part of the leg, and they protect the back part of the tendon. And, you know, basically for the show jumping is that we do want the horses to learn and to be careful. So if you've got this boot on cross country and they tap a rail, they're not even going to feel it. And it's not about, you know, it's not about pain or anything like that. It's just about education and self-preservation. So when we're jumping or show jumping our horses, we tend to jump them in the open front so that if they tap a rail up front, you know, there's not much here, right? It's just kind of like, it would be like kind of a little tap on the front of your arm, right? You're not going to cause a lot of damage, but you are going to have, it's going to smart a little bit. And so that's going to help our horses just get that little bit of self-preservation and be aware of where the rails are. So at home when we're show jumping, we do jump in these boots. If I'm just doing cavaletti work and something like that, I'll normally still jump in these because that's more rideability. But if I'm proper show jumping, I will jump in my open fronts. And then that's the same thing with our ankle boots. That'll protect the ankle, but it leaves the front part of the tendon exposed. So that, again, one more time, if they have a little tap, that they can learn from that experience. So hopefully that helps you when you're deciding what boots to put on your horse for what activity you're doing per day.